Hi, welcome back to the Fifth Information. This is Brandon.
This Gage?
And this is Jared.
All right, today or this episode, we're going to be going into the Atlanta Falcons history and 9 years ago. Their first season was in 1966. They were in the NFC West from 1970 till 2001, NFC South from 2002 to the present. Like we said just a second earlier, it's crazy they were in the NFC West at all. That was a weird division. I'm glad they realigned things because I think they had the Saints in there and in there with the Niners and stuff. There couldn't be further from the West.
Yeah.
This franchise is kind of quietly one of the worst franchises record wise and championship wise. They have 0 championships. They have 2 conference championships, which was 1998 and 2016.
The infamous 2016 playoff run.
Yeah, which they were up by what, 23 points?
28 to 3.
28-3.
They had it in the
25
bag, man.
points.
They had it in the bag. And then Tom Brady.
Lost in overtime to
Tom
the
Brady.
Patriots. And then in 98, they lost to the Broncos, which that was kind of, they had Jamal Anderson, and the Broncos had Terrell Davis. So we kind of thought it was going to be like a really good running game, which it was, but they lost pretty handedly to the Broncos that season. And then they have 6 division championships, 2004, 2010, 2012, and 2016. And in their 59-year history, they've only made the playoff 14 times, which isn't as bad as what we just seen. Yeah. But that's not great. That's only like 25%. So it's like one out of
way better than the
10%
years. We just looked at, though. So.
Right.
It actually sounds quite good coming right after the Cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals would take that any day.
Yeah, I think their first playoff was 78, and their last one was 2016. Like we just said, I don't think they made the playoffs since then.
But, no. They had a couple great games with Kirk where it's like, oh, they might be a playoff team, and then
they made it the next year in 17.
Did they?
They lost in the divisional round.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then the record overall, including playoffs, is 398, 5-12, and 6, which isn't great. The record in the playoffs is 10 and 14, so they have 10 playoff wins, which is pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And then, then Hall of Famers there, which is I did the whole list, and you guys will see why in just a second. Deion Sanders played there. He was drafted there, 89 to 93. Tommy McDonald, 1967, played there. Eric Dickerson played there in 1993. Chris Dolman was there from 94 to 95. Claude Humphrey was 1968 to 78. Brett Favre was drafted there in 91. Morton Anderson was there for 2 stints, 95 to 2000, and then the 06-07 season. Tony G played there from 09 to 2013.
Forget he was there.
So, yeah, I didn't realize he was there for that long, too.
Dwight Freeney was there in the 2016 season, and Devin Hester was there in the 2014 to 15. So the reason why I did the whole list was because half of the guys that made the Hall of Fame that they shout out were there for a year.
Right.
They weren't even.
Yeah, I thought Vic played a year there, too.
Yeah, but he's not Hall of Fame.
He's not Hall of Fame?
No, he was drafted there, but he hasn't made it in the Hall of Fame.
He was too busy fighting dogs and stuff to make it to the Hall of Fame.
Right, and so, I mean, that's the reason why I did the whole list, because I was like, wow, there's like half of these guys they have on there.
Yeah, you mentioned like 2 guys that played.
Yeah, that actually played there quite a
the one guy from 68 to 78, that might be a whole career.
I do think Matt Ryan is going to be a Hall of Famer. I think so. I mean, I think his stats match it. I know he didn't have a championship. He was real close to one, but I think he will be. So they'll get another guy. The Ring of Honor, Arthur Blank, which is the owner now. Steve Bartkowski was a quarterback for them. Deion Sanders, of course. Matt Ryan, Warwick Dunn, William Andrews, Gerald Riggs, Jeff Van Note, Jesse Tuggle, Tommy Nobis, Todd McClure, Mike Kevin, Roddy White, and Claude Humphrey.
I noticed Roddy White was the only name that rang a bell with me there.
Yeah, Roddy White was good.
Yeah.
And I always forget about him, how good he was there. So their passing leaders, our passing leader is Matt Ryan, 59,735 yards, and he also led in touchdowns, 367. I don't think there was any question there.
Did he lead in interceptions?
No, I don't think he did.
He was pretty conservative. Like, didn't throw a lot of interceptions.
And if he did, it was probably just because of the length of his tenure, not just because he threw a lot. I didn't really look that up.
I mean, you look at that, man. He was up there with Drew Brees, and not Drew Brees caliber, but during that time with Drew Brees and Matt Ryan and Andrew Luck and
Yeah,
those days.
if
Yeah,
he was in his prime today, he'd be one of the best quarterbacks. He just played during an era where it was crazy
so
good
dominant.
quarterbacks.
Manning. Yeah.
Yep. Rushing leader, Gerald Riggs. He played from 82 to 88.
6 seasons, and he's the Russian leader.
6,631 yards, but it was Michael Turner who led in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns with 60. Receiving, any guesses?
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones.
Yeah, one of the best to play, I feel, like we talk about all the time.
Yeah,
Jones
I think
is
he's
that good.
easily top 10.
12,896 yards, but he did not lead in touchdowns. He had 60, and Roddy White had 63.
Oh, wow.
Roddy White.
So he got beat out by 3, but I don't know. It did. That is one thing we always talk about with like fantasy football is how Jones didn't get the touchdowns and stuff. I remember when he was,
Jones is like the wide receiver version of Trey McBride.
Yep.
Yep. They'd get you to the goal line and they'd give to running back, or in this case,
Roddy White.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Tackles was Jesse Tuggle, 1,639. Sacks was Claude Humphrey with 99.5. That close to 100 sacks.
Man.
And
Such
then
a milestone,
right. And interceptions was Ronald Lawrence with 39. So I mean,
I don't think Hester played there a while, but he still might be their best returner.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I forgot
but he
about him,
he kind of got there late in his career.
Yeah,
so.
and he still was pretty good.
So notable coaches, I forgot to write them down, so I'll just kind of look at it real quick. They had Jerry Glanville, and I think he's more infamous because he actually traded Brett Favre after drafting him. That was kind of not a good move. Then Norm Van Brocklin, if you want to go old school, so that's pretty cool. But most of the coaches they have losing records. Lehman Bennett had a winning record at 46 and 41. Glanville even had a losing record, 27 and 37. Dan Reeves, notable coach. He was there for 7 seasons, I think, 6 or 7 seasons. He was 49, 59, and 1. I thought he was actually better than that. I remember Jim Mora being there. He was 26 and 22, so that's a winning record. Their winningest coach is Mike Smith. He was there from 2008 to 2014, and he was 66 and 46.
And who came right after him?
It was
Blue Super Bowl lead?
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn, yeah.
And he was 43 and 42. So, which he's doing really well with his first season, I think. Was it first season with the Commanders?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he did really well.
Yep.
So, Raheem Morris was an interim coach in 2020. And then when Arthur Smith, who had a losing record, 21 and 30. And then Raheem Morris came back last year and is still a coach. He went 8-9 last season. So, I mean, nobody on there really stands out as being like a Hall of Fame type coach to me. I thought Dan Reeves was better.
Yeah, if only they didn't choke that Super Bowl, then they'd have a Hall of Fame coach probably.
Maybe,
Yeah, Dan Quinn, and it is like I don't think it was. Yeah, obviously it wasn't his fault. You know what I mean? But
I mean, partially.
Well,
I
he
think,
owns it. It wasn't all his fault.
I think the head coach has pretty big play in losing a 25-point lead, but
yeah, what a letdown though. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of the history of him. We talked Mike Vick a little bit, and I think he was such a game changer when he first came in. They didn't know what to do with him, but a lot of his stuff didn't really translate into a lot of wins. Like he was really just a a real kind of like a highlight reel quarterback.
Yeah.
And I don't know what would have happened if he would have stayed there and he didn't get in trouble, obviously with the dog fighting stuff and go to jail. And I don't know what would have happened if he would have turned into a good quarterback, great quarterback. What would happen? I know he came back a little better afterwards when he played with the Eagles and moved around a little bit, but he was just never.
He ended up playing, or at least signing with so many teams. I know there's at least one in there that he signed that never ended up actually playing for, but he played for the Steelers for a little bit.
Yeah, you brought that up during the Steelers one, and I didn't realize that he even played any games there.
I didn't either, yeah.
But
I just remember him coming from watching him in Vautech. It was just like, holy cow, this left-handed dynamic quarterback, super fast. He was like almost not necessarily as good of a passer, but just the way the ball came off of his hand and how he threw it, just being a left-handed quarterback, was like, oh my gosh, we've never seen anybody like this in the NFL before. And then when he was
Steve Young, better. Way better.
Not as explosive. Maybe as far as passing, yes. But
what do you mean? That one run by Steve Young better than anything Michael Vick ever did.
Yeah.
Michael Vick, whenever he ran, it was just like his first 10 yards were so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like so explosive. He was so slippery, and being paired up with Warwick Dunn, who was like another Florida State running back. I remember watching him at Florida State. He was kind of on the skinnier side, but he was more like dynamic too, and it's just nothing ever like came from that offense that they had.
Right.
Like you said, most of Vic's highlight reels were either like really deep passes because he could throw it a mile, or he was running in for a touchdown.
Yeah, you'll always talk about his commercial he had. There was some commercial that was like the Mike Vick experience.
Oh, that's what it was. They put that guy in like that strap for like a roller coaster ride for Nike.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yep.
I think it was Anderson, the running back Anderson.
Yeah, Jamal Anderson.
He did the Dirty Bird dance.
The Dirty Bird.
The Dirty Bird dance. Yeah.
Yeah, during all that was really kind of crazy season. They had Too Legit to Quit, old MC Hammer on the sidelines, all that stuff.
Oh wow.
It was crazy. And I mean, they did end up going to the Super Bowl.
They did, yeah.
But yeah, that was a wild time. Jamal Anderson was really good, and I think if he didn't get hurt, because he had a really nasty injury, that put him out too. And that's kind of crazy that him and Terrell Davis both kind of went out with injuries. But I think Jamal Anderson, I think that he got 2,000 yards or right at 2,000 yards. Didn't look that up.
He had a lot of yards.
Yeah, I should have.
Yeah, in that 98 season, he had 1,846.
Okay, that's what I was more talking about.
So, like you said, that was about the same year Terrell Davis was doing his. Well, the Broncos were really good, but Terrell Davis had like that 1,900 and 2,000 yard seasons.
Yep,
and those about the same time. So it was year of the running back apparently.
Yeah, they were the two best running backs in the league during that time, and. Yeah, it was, and he was really good. And I'm surprised they don't have him on some of this stuff. Maybe it was just because, Jamal Anderson just didn't play long enough.
Yeah.
Because he got hurt. Now, I guess notable players on their team now: Michael Penix, which is the quarterback they drafted last year.
It's pronounced penis.
Kirk Cousins. I still like Algier. I know Bijan's taking over that running back room, but I still like Algier too. I put him down. Kyle Pitts, and then I like Jesse Bates on their defense. So
yeah. The unicorn Kyle Pitts.
The dog is attacking.
Come on,
Jared.
dude.
He wants to be on the radio.
Yeah, my dog loves being on the podcast.
All right, yeah, and I mean, if I missed guys, that are notable players now, it's just, I looked over their roster. I was like, there's not a lot of guys that stand out.
Yeah, they don't have much talent over there.
At least not like notable.
Oh no, they have that wide
Drake
receiver.
London?
Yeah, Drake London.
Yeah. Defensively, you go down the list, and I mean they got Leonard Floyd, which I mean it's not a big move for me. They do have Jesse Bates, who played really well for them. He came from Cincinnati as a strong safety, but they do have that AJ Terrell, who I think is
that corner.
Top, I don't know how top 10, at least top 10.
I'd put him top 10. Yeah,
cornerback. He does really well for them. But as far as just like you said, looking at their defense, it almost kind of reminds me of the Arizona Cardinals, where you're kind of you're looking for somebody that kind of stands out. Bijan Robinson to me kind of stands out. Kyle Pitts hasn't really transformed into the pick that he
was supposed to number 6 overall.
He does okay, but I mean, if you're going to pick a tight end 6 overall, Kyle Pitts was supposed to be like that new age game changing split out tight end that was supposed to be a mismatch for everybody.
Yeah, it
he
seemed
was
like
supposed to be Brock Bowers.
He was, yeah,
like a replica of Vernon Davis.
He was, yes. Drake London kind of took this next step this next year, but so you're kind of hoping he keeps on that trajectory. They still have Jake Matthews, which is surprising to me. He was a first round pick in 2014, so he must still be doing pretty well. 10 years into his stint.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris Lindstrom is a good guard for them, I think. Other than that, I think Darryl Mooney did a pretty good job for them, being wide receiver number 2 for him. But it kind of resonates with what we talked about with the Cardinals last episode. It's just like, man, they didn't really make a whole lot of splashy moves where they probably could have.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that Kirk Cousins contract has kind of done to their salary cap, because he's still on the roster for some reason, and they paid him over $100 million guaranteed.
Yeah, they paid him a lot
because they kept him past the date.
They
right?
did, yeah. So I could see. I don't know if he's a trade candidate, but if you're already going to pay the guy, you might as well keep him.
Yeah,
I don't know. Or if you're looking for some picks, maybe coming up in the draft.
Yeah.
and try to offload him on. I mean, the Steelers still need a quarterback, so
Right.
it's either going to be
I would still like to see Kirk Cousins over Aaron Rodgers at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to Pittsburgh or something like that. And Aaron Rodgers didn't even have that terrible of a year. It just doesn't seem like he has that like desire to win.
Right.
He doesn't seem like he plays with any
He's
sort of
just an
fire at all.
asshole.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, his bad year was a down year for him, but it wasn't a bad quarterback year.
Mhm.
He still threw for what 3,500.
Yep.
So it's still a good year. He's just fighting with his coach on the side, doing all this stuff, where he probably should have been benched
right.
for shoving Robert Saleh and
Yeah.
fighting with his coaches and stuff.
Yep, for sure.
Where he's just such a locker room
Mhm.
hazard that he shouldn't be on a roster.
Right.
Yep. And going back like what you were talking about with the free agents, they didn't really grab anybody. I put like Jordan Fuller, safety. They got wide receiver Agnew, but he's going to be more of a return guy.
Yeah, he's a return specialist.
Because he's from Pittsburgh, I think, where he did good there. And
Yeah,
now I think they got Pickens returning there now. Or he did a couple anyway.
Yeah.
They got cornerback Mike Ford. One I did like, the one pickup was Contavious Street,
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
but he's not going to make a huge difference. But he's going to be that, he's going to be a good role player.
Mhm.
And then I put Floyd down too, but that's not, the guy hasn't played at a high level for
Right.
a few seasons already. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely one of those where we're definitely getting down these teams where, if they didn't do much in the free agency, then they're going to have to hit in the draft.
but they're
Yeah.
still a team that has solid enough role players that's just the best available.
Mhm.
I don't think they have a super huge need that they
Right.
really need to address, whether it's reaching or trading up or something.
Right. I agree with that. And I think, verdict's still out on Michael Penix because he started so late in the season and, they stuck with Kirk Cousins, which you should. He
Mhm.
should have tried over and over to get him going. But he did. He had flashes of good stuff. I feel like, they should be pretty confident
Yeah.
in him. So I think
Yeah.
he's going to be their starter, I would hope.
My own thing is I don't like lefties because they suck to play with the Madden.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like Michael Penix. I think he's gonna be good
I think-
quarterback for him. I like their pick of him, willing to develop him even though he is a high draft pick.
Right.
Mhm.
I do. I kind of liked him coming out. I just watching him in that playoff run in 23 with Washington.
Yeah,
How well he played, and so I think when he's going to get all the reps this year in the spring ball, come fall ball, he's going to be playing with the number ones rather than the number twos. He's just going to get all the reps, hopefully anyway. But kind of in
and
the same
hopefully,
line of
hopefully Kirko's one of those guys that
Right.
can pass on some veteran knowledge.
not be a dick about it.
Yeah,
As far as where they can go, just kind of looking at their defense, maybe they can go edge rusher.
Yeah.
So you're kind of looking at their range at 15. You're kind of looking
James Pierce.
at your boy James Pierce. Yeah, if that Mike Green is still on the board, just kind of flavor because they're two different size players. James Pierce is more of your lengthy speed guy off the edge. Mike Green coming off of the Senior Bowl where he ran through somebody 6'3", 250, so a little bit shorter stature and more of a kind of a power rusher.
Mhm.
So it just depends on what they kind of like. I can see them going away from James Pierce because they got Leonard Floyd, who's almost like kind of like the same stature, a little bit taller, lengthier guy, not a whole lot of weight on him.
Yeah,
So I can see them going a little bit meatier on their defensive ends. Maybe that Shamir Stewart.
Yeah. Shamar Stewart
yeah.
would be a big.
Yeah.
That's one I have too.
you've been a big
Texas
fan
A&M.
of.
And that would be, and I know he's a chance, but the guy like you first brought him up as being more physical, but not a lot of production. And
Mhm.
once you look into it, you're like, man, that dude is like a freak.
Yeah.
When it
Yep.
comes to like just being physical and his,
Yeah.
numbers.
Now, a guy there in the range that they might be able to get Micah Williams to
Mhm.
fall to him.
Yep.
Not a huge chance, but that'd be a good pickup.
Yeah, I
if you're
like
going to
him.
go D tackle.
Or
Yeah.
he's a defensive
Yeah,
end.
they have
Is
him
he?
at edge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I have for needs. Edge,
But Derek
D-line,
Carmen's a good
Derek
pick.
Carmen, yeah.
Could be a good pick
Yeah.
for him too.
Yeah, I got edge, defensive lineman, interior lineman, obviously, and then the defensive backs.
Yeah.
Are
Did you
there.
steal it from Espen?
No.
Or did you make your own list? Because I actually just looked at Espen's needs for him. It's edge, wide receiver. Oh, wait, hold up. That's the wrong one. Edge, defensive tackle, center, safety, wide receiver.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
So-
yeah.
Top three was pretty damn close to what Espen's got him at
Right
too.
on. Yeah, and and I really feel like if one of these good cornerbacks drop. I know it's kind of third on their need list to me, but like if you got Ja'Day Barron or Will
Right.
Johnson there, that would be a good pick. But I understand that, like,
Yeah, I don't think any team could go wrong taking Will Johnson
Right.
or Ja'Day Barron.
But I understand that you got to win in the trenches too. So I had the same thing you guys were talking about. Walter Nolan, I think we mentioned him in the Cardinals one. Mike Green, Shamar Stewart. But also, I mean, at 15, you also could be, in a position to take the first wide receiver too.
Yeah.
So you'd have your choice of those. And it does seem like as wide receiver, I'm not saying that it's a drastic need, but you could still probably end up with a pretty good playmaker, considering, some of their guys haven't really panned out. You might need another weapon.
Yeah, I mean, right at Aspen's ranking, they have Teddy Roy at 15. So, I mean, that's the top wide receiver in the class. I think he goes higher. I mean, I'd like to see him fall to one of these middle-of-the-pack teams that he's going to be able to go into a pretty good roster to make a difference instead of being Malik Neighbors' guy where he goes in and puts up insane stats but wins 4 games.
Yeah, looking at one of the receivers that I really like in the second round, and that's where he's great, is that Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Which, when I kind of was breaking down some of the wide receivers in the draft, Iowa State has 2 guys in this second round, which kind of surprised me. I didn't really hear too much about him. Maybe Iowa State just wasn't that good, but
Well, they have everybody.
Yeah.
Every senior they have is projected like top 30
know.
rounds.
And it
because
doesn't
they
seem
have
like
both
they've-
their running backs, 2 wide receivers.
which was surprising because I didn't think Iowa State was that good.
Yeah,
Maybe they weren't, but I don't know.
Yeah, sending guys into there that are going to
Yeah.
be drafted that high. That's cool.
So it's just they have their
It's that
2
Brock
choices.
Purdy effect.
Yeah. The Jalen Knoll from Iowa State, he's a little bit smaller. He's your 5'10", 194, and then that Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, he's their 6'4", 214. So I can see in the second round at pick 45-ish is where they're at.
Right.
They want to go wide receiver.
Yeah, like
that
pick
falls
47
right
would be
into
theirs.
where they're at. Too.
Yeah.
They're at 40. They got 15, 46, 118, 218, and 242. So unless they
Ooh, so
trade
they're
back,
not a huge capital team either.
Mhm.
So that puts them in a rough spot too, only having 5 picks.
Yeah.
having 5 picks. Yep. And so that's why they're going to be trade watch. I'm about 70% sure they're going to trade out with their
Mhm.
first pick.
You think so? How
Yeah.
far you think they go down? I see
I mean, that
like a
depends,
7
but
spot fall down to
Yeah.
hopefully get Mike Green
I
at
think
22.
they're with 5 picks. I think they want more picks, and I think that they know that they can get some quality players later on in the first round, and probably still end up with 3 or 4 more picks depending on who trades and how far back.
Yeah.
If it's somebody trading back into the first round, then
Mhm.
yeah, they're going to get a buttload. But
I think their target should be that 20. So I think 20 will give you Mike Green maybe on the board still, Shamar Stewart maybe on the board still.
Yeah.
So I'd like a trade back. I just hope it's not too far back.
so they should have a limit. Is what you're saying on
Yeah,
how far they
yeah. I
can
think
go
it should be
back.
20, 21 should be the limit.
Gotcha. But yeah, and we talked about how they don't have any drastic needs. Like you're looking at it, like they could use an edge rusher, they could do this, and without a drastic need, I mean, maybe like that again puts you into this like, yeah, you guys trade back and still get what you want, But
Yeah,
I think it depends on who's there
Mhm.
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
If they come back to 15 and that Michael is there, that Michael Williams, then
Yeah.
you don't trade back.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and I think it's kind of fun too now that we're in the top 22. Really, because they're going to get you can essentially get one of the top guys at any
Mhm.
position. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of at least according to ranking.
mhm.
But you can definitely get a guy that you like best at that position. So.
Yeah. Which, they might be a team that shocks you and goes out and picks up
Yeah.
like the 3rd ranked guy in the first round because they like him the best.
Which was surprising last year when they got Penix at, was it 9?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Somewhere like there,
Yeah.
because right after they gave Kirk Cousins that 3-year, $150 million deal, it was just like, man, who are they going to pick? And it was just like, oh, they just drafted a quarterback in the first round. And then, so yeah, I can see them definitely surprising us with who they pick up. It couldn't be a person that they don't need right away. It could be another Michael Penix situation to where they're kind of just sitting and waiting.
Yeah, maybe they go after Colston Loveland if he falls
Yeah.
and just go pick up a tight end
Right.
to put behind Pitts.
Yeah, because it's like they don't have a drastic need, but they also
Yeah.
don't have any. I think the only place that is completely shored up without any question mark at all is probably running back.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, I feel like that's the
Yeah.
only place where it's like, okay, they've got 2 good running backs there and 1 young running back that seems like he's
Well,
going to be
and they
really
definitely
good.
can't mess with quarterback. So they got Kirko on a big contract and
Mhm.
Michael Penix. So, I mean, anywhere but there, yeah.
Yeah, And yeah, quarterback is just because they've already invested so much into it,
Yeah.
and it's not. There are still questions because you don't know if Penix is the guy, and you don't know if Cousins will play good. Is he going to be the guy we've seen in those terrible weeks where it was awful,
150 yards and 9 for 32 or something. Yeah,
3 interceptions and no touchdowns, or is he going to be that guy who comes out and
throws for 400 like he did in week 2
against the Bucks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know, and so it's kind of all over the place on what they could do with that pick, and I kind of like it because it's kind of fun because they're you don't have any nailed down what they're going to do with it, and they do have I guess kind of a luxury a little bit of being able to pick the best player available.
But that is also a spot where they have no big needs where maybe they're like, we like pretty much everybody have. What if we package a couple of picks together and don't need a big draft class? Patch a couple picks together, go up for a guy like Mikael Williams or one of the higher end guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point you'd probably have to sacrifice from the 2026 draft too.
Yeah,
some of your picks there, but yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you were like, yeah, we only need a couple of players, maybe, but I don't think so. I think they're going to say we're going to take our chances and get more.
Yeah, I'd rather bring in 7 or 8 guys, but like we said, they used the number 9. I don't want to say wasted, but there's a lot of talented guys they could have picked up with that 9th pick to pick up a backup quarterback.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to go back and kind of look to see like the next 5 or so picks after Penix, just to see like who they could have had. They could have had like an instant impact rather than Penix not starting till week 12 or 13 or whatever it was.
Well, was Rome a Dude pick after Penix? I think he was, right?
I believe so.
Down a little bit. So I mean, there's the wide receiver that could have come in, and I think he ended
which
up
turned
with
out
the
to not be
Bears.
one of their need. I
Yeah,
mean, with
'cause
Drake London take that step up.
And then Darnell Mooney really took a step for them anyway for being that wide receiver too. I thought he did really well. They still got Ray McLeod as wide receiver 3.
Right. They got
Yeah,
him on
not
there.
that Romo Dudes would have been a huge addition.
Well, and then that wide receiver, that rookie for the Jaguars, was there too, I think.
Yeah, I'm pulling up it right now.
Yep.
So they picked Penix at 8, not 9, and O'Dones went at 9.
Okay.
Then Bo Nix at 12. We haven't seen Penix play a lot, but Bo Nix might have been the better pick
so far. Absolutely.
Yeah. Latu went at 15.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers at 13.
Yeah, see.
Under Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple places they could have gone. I really don't think they did too bad, though, on the Michael Penix.
Yeah. I mean, time will tell.
If it works out, too, it's just like, good job.
Hell yeah. But when you, like you said, it was a surprise.
Yeah.
It was right after signing Cousins. Yeah, I was shocked. I think Cousins was shocked. I think he was kind of even mad about it.
Probably.
I remember hearing something about that he was kind of pissed off that they didn't go get him a weapon or something like that. Like, man, help me win rather than the heir apparent.
Or an offensive lineman. Quarterback's never mad about an offensive lineman.
It's funny that you go into like this year's draft and Penix was the 4th quarterback taken last year.
I think so.
It was Caleb and then
there was like
Drake and then
Jaden. Caleb, Jaden, Drake,
Penix,
and then Penix, and then McCarthy, and then Bo Nix.
Yeah. So you look at the situation, and maybe they were like, I don't know, and I'm sure everybody has a front office guy that looks in like the next year's draft for quarterback. But maybe they saw Penix coming up and was just like, hey, this guy's probably would be pick number 2 in this next draft coming up, maybe behind Cam Ward. Definitely, I think Penix would probably be definitely higher rated than Shadur Sanders.
I think
had to guess.
I think he would have been second.
And so maybe they were just kind of future telling, saying, hey, if this Kirk Cousins thing doesn't work out, a 35-year-old quarterback coming off an AC or an Achilles injury, let's get the quarterback now because we don't know where we're going to be picking this high again.
Right.
So smart on their part, I don't know.
Could have been. Maybe Shadur becomes the next damn good QB.
Maybe he does. I don't know.
Quarterbacks are, I think, the hardest to tell, really. Because like I go back and I love doing those draft games, those mock draft things. And I went back doing a mock draft. I think I sent you guys one from like 2018 or whatever. And you go through there and you look at some of those guys, you're like, wow, I don't even remember that guy. But they were probably a huge name coming, during the draft. So like, I think like 70%, 80% of the guys we talk about in these drafts, they're not going to pan out. They're not going to be anything.
Well, and it's crazy too because they look at the personal stuff too, not just the football stuff. Where one of these teams picking high probably could have had Josh Allen when he came out.
Yeah.
He just won the MVP. But
Right.
Yeah.
we're like, oh, he said racist stuff at 14. So
Well, he still went 7th overall. So.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. Another team, really, like I said, they're just quietly a really bad franchise. They have not
I don't
had a lot of
know
wins.
how quiet it is though.
I feel like that they're under the radar for how bad they are, in my opinion.
I think as of more recent, like since 2019, they probably have been because they've been so mediocre. You forget about the mediocre teams.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, after 2016, you realize how poor this franchise is.
Right, but when you stop and you just like, all right, what's the worst? I mean, you got the Lions. I think you
Browns.
bring up the Cardinals, the Browns, and you start all these snake-bitten franchises. I hardly hear anybody bring the Falcons up.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's just not talked about. And
Yeah.
they really are not good. Like,
No.
overall, their team is just very mediocre and I mean, they've got a losing record by, it's going to take them 10 years of winning every game just to catch up.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's over 100 games. And, yeah, it's not. Yeah, it was just crazy to me going into it. So I really, like, when I first looked into it, I was like, damn, why don't we talk about this team being that bad,
Yeah.
And I know they're better than the Cardinals on playoff percentage, but still 25% means once every 4 years you're making the playoffs. That's
Man,
not that
if
good.
I was an NFL coach, I'd be the Mike Tomlin. 14 out of 15
Yep.
seasons, we go playoffs, man. With the 5-2 defense, we'd be
Right.
killing it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, this was a good episode. I think we had some pretty good takes in here. Learned a little bit about the Falcons while I was doing this.
Did we talk about their playoff chances? The thing with, I think the Falcons is they play in a weaker division than the Cardinals.
For this next
Yeah.
season?
Yep.
We think. Okay, gotcha.
I think their records will begin to improve. I can't remember what they were last year. Did they win
8 and
games?
9.
8-9. I
Yep.
can see them going 9-8 or even 10-7, just because of the division they play in. They play with the Saints,
The Buccaneers, and
Buccaneers,
Panthers.
and the Panthers.
This might be kind of
So-
a hot take again, like I said with the Cardinals, but I think they're also a potentially
Yeah.
11-win team.
Right.
I mean, I think Drake London, if he stays on that same trajectory,
Mhm.
might be top 5 this season.
I definitely like their offense a lot better than the Cardinals'
Yeah.
offense as far as playmakers go.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think their
They got
defense
a
might
much younger
be.
running back,
Mhm.
and they got 2 of them there that
Yeah.
can do it. And I
Yeah.
do like their wide receiving group better.
I think if they really start clicking on offense, instead of being inconsistent like they were with Kirk Cousins, I think they're an 11-win team.
Mhm.
I think the only thing they're missing is, a really good receiving tight end.
Yeah.
If Pitts could, go be the guy he was supposed to be, then they would be pretty complete.
I mean, I think they were there for the most part last year with the Bucks coming into like this last quarter of the season of winning the division,
Yeah,
because the Bucks really didn't have that great of a record too. They just ended up winning the division.
Right.
So,
but honestly, I think the way we're looking right now is a sweep against the Saints and
mhm.
split with the Panthers.
Panthers,
So I
yeah.
like where the Panthers
Yeah.
are going to.
Yeah,
Yep.
if the Panthers if their trajectory keeps going up,
If Bryce
Then-
Young keeps
then
playing
they're-
confident,
Mhm.
I think they're going to be, they could be an 8-win team maybe
Yeah.
too. So.
yeah,
But I agree. But what were you saying, that they got a pretty good chance?
To me, I wouldn't be surprised if they got like a wild card. If they snuck in there, like Gage said, 10 wins, 11 wins, if they kind of snuck in there just because of the
or
division.
the 4th seed because
Yeah.
of the
Or
division.
if they win
yeah.
the division, yeah.
Mhm.
With the division that they play in, there's no dominant team in there that like scares me. Like, oh, they're not
Right.
going to win it. So I think they'll be competing there last couple weeks of the season for the division. I can see that.
And I think definitely if they hit on a couple of these, they only got 5 draft picks so far. So if they do hit on some guys there, they're able to make some plays. Then I'm not against that. I like that take. I do, in my opinion, I do feel like they're basically going to be fighting for the 2nd or 3rd spot there in that division. I still think the Panthers are they're going to be fighting with the Saints, I think, a little bit more for the bottom, because I feel like the Saints are probably, in my opinion, the weakest team in that division as far as what they've done and trajectory-wise. And
Well,
then,
news now of Derek Carr maybe being out for the season too.
right,
Yep.
right. So I'm not a big fan of them. And then I kind of agree with you. Buccaneers don't really scare me. They have a pretty good offense, and but they were so streaky, on what they were doing. So yeah, I'm say they got a pretty good outside chance to make the playoffs too.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make a far run, but I
Right.
think they can make it.
All right. Well, that was a good episode, like I said. We appreciate it. Thanks, Rock, for our music. And we're gonna try to get it out on YouTube as well. He does our intro and he does our outro. We appreciate it. And if you listen to us on Podbean or on our podcast, you'll hear his music that we've plugged in there as our intro and everything. And he does a pretty good job. So, all right, appreciate you guys. Thanks.